Welcome to the Well Child Show. Good evening and welcome to the Well Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. My name, as always, is Kemak Onyenuchea, and I'm so glad that you're spending your precious time with us today. The coronavirus pandemic hit the world in unprecedented manners, and one of the most hardly hit sectors of our nationhood is education. Today on the show, I have a very special guest. It's not her first time on the show, but today she'll be telling us how the Ministry of Education in Lagos State, Nigeria, has been working to create some palliative measures towards the effects of the coronavirus on the education of our children. We're going to go on a very quick breather. When I return, the Well Child Show continues. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. It's still the Well Child Show, brought to you by Global Child Health and Safety Initiative. My name remains Kemak Onyenuchea, your regular host. Today on the program, I have a very special guest. She is a dear friend of mine and the Senior Special Assistant on STEM Education in Lagos State, Honorable Adetola Salau. You're welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, this is not your first time.
No, it's not. First time, yeah.
Right, and yeah, of course now looking back before the show started, coronavirus, no one saw that coming.
At all.
No one saw that coming, and the effect that it has had on the education system. First of all, everyone is running back to STEM, and of course I know you are a STEM, we call you the STEM professor. So what can you say about, it's like a vindication of all what you've been saying, prior to now, on how STEM education has to be, deeply ingrained. So just preach the gospel of STEM.
All right, I like the word you used when you were introducing what we're going to be talking about today. Unprecedented. All through this week, that was the word I've been thinking about. Wow. A friend made a joke. I bought a planner for 2020 and she was saying, wow, are you really using that planner? And I started laughing. And I also saw that on Twitter, some people making jokes about whether or not they're using their 2020 planners. Well, I'm still using mine. Yes, unprecedented is a word we'll have for this year. However, like you said, we've been talking about this. In fact, I was just looking through a book I had written in 2017, the one we had spoken about the last time I was here, Future Readiness in Education. And that's what I was talking about, digital literacy, preparing our students for the future, preparing for that things are going to really start shifting. Well, guess what? It's happened. Things have shifted. There's been a major disruption and things will never be the same. Like we say now, this is a new normal. So yes, it's time for everybody to get on our bus. The bus of making sure that our students infuse tech in their learning.
Right. Okay. Now, as a state, of course, it's education is the fulcrum, I believe, of society, because at the end of the day, it's the system that drives the educational process that determines, you know, the formulation or the grooming, as it were, of the citizens. Now, how has Lagos State particularly tried to adapt learning such that there is no break in transmission as regards the learning of our children during this pandemic?
We immediately, when everything started unfolding, we started discussing the fact that due to public health safety, there was a really strong chance that we will have to also close our schools, like we were seeing in other nations. We started discussing that possibility, and immediately we started discussing ways around that, because the important thing was we wanted a continuous engagement for our students in learning. Unfortunately, we did a lot of research on what has been happening in other countries, Japan, Kenya. These are the ones that are coming to my memory right now, but there were other nations that we had done research on. We're very big on research and data. That's something I'm very passionate about. So we had gone, through articles and peer-reviewed journals to see what had been done successfully, keyword successfully in these other nations, and then also to do informal surveys to see what will work for us in our applying based on our infrastructural challenges and also the being able to catch as many of our population in the segment that we have. And we found out that the best way would be the radio. Yes. So we were going to engage our students in distance learning, even if they were not in our physical structures. We were still going to engage them in distance learning, but we were going to use the radio. I know a lot of people were mentioning apps and mentioning going online, but you see, you have to understand the environment and the constraints that you have. And one of the constraints we have in this environment is, first of all, the devices. The students having access to devices where they can go online, and then having data to be able to go online and go through the material that's online. But on the radio, it's very easy. Even the smallest, there's a word we have for those phones, the really simple smartphones, they all have radio applications. And then you have those small, inexpensive radio devices that they can also carry around with them. And somehow, even when you're in the buses, you have bus drivers listening to radio. So radio is something that cuts across all segments in society. Somehow, for the most part, we're plugged into listening to our radios. So the radio was one area that we know was going to be a good level playing field. Then, of course, TVs. We have a lot of people also watching TV. Unfortunately, we had private sector organizations who were willing to partner with us, both radio stations and TV stations, to allow us to air our content for free. So right now we have our teachers who demonstrate and record, how would I call them? They're kind of like podcasts, radio content, teaching the children 8 subjects, and then for junior secondary and senior secondary, and also the primary schools. And then we also have them recording themselves teaching and demonstrating these subjects for the TV. The TV is once. I have the schedule. I'll look on it.
Okay, we'll look at the schedule.
We'll look at the schedule.
But I know a major challenge. Now, speaking about myself, right? The discipline and concentration. Now, personally, I don't do too well with distance learning, especially learning over the internet. Now, I want to put myself in the position of a child. And of course, we know children naturally have a lower attention span. So are there any steps, in choosing these panaceas to the coronavirus pandemic and its effect on education? Are there also some steps, that you have taken to ensure that, for instance, children concentrate and actually participate in the learning process? Yes,
we have.
All right.
First of all, the way that the teachers have put together the content, I have to say kudos to our team. They've done fantastic work. They made it in such a way that all our children find it entertaining and engaging, and they're really interested in calling in. And then we even have Fridays as calling, where the parents calling or the children themselves calling, with their questions. We've even had the Honorable Commissioner herself answer a question on one Friday. I'm trying to remember when it was. It was last month. So we've had opportunities where there's a back and forth engagement. The students are tuned in and plugged into it. It's more the way it feels, because I also plug in and I listen to it and go back and let's work on this, let's work on that. The way it's structured in such a way that it's something that the children already like. You see, we have to understand that a lot of our children even this segment that we are worried that they're not normally online, somehow they're already used to this kind of material. They're used to Instagram, they're used to YouTube. More of them are digital natives than our own generation, the generation before us. So they're used to visual content, they're used to listening to skits on radio, they're used to things that somehow have some elements of fun and entertainment. We call it edutainment now. So the way this content has been produced, it's been produced in lieu of that. That there's some elements of that embedded in that. So there's, no matter what, they're plugging them in, they're gluing them in, actually the word is reeling, they're reeling them in, and they're following along with it. I listened to, there was one I listened to the other day, mathematics, and I liked the way the math teacher presented the material. And it was, what was talking about that day? That was junior secondary, and I believe he was talking about graphs. Yes, he was talking about graphs to the students. And I liked the examples that he used. Some of the examples were real life examples that the children would understand and be able to relate to. And that's what we've been emphasizing over and over to them. Make sure there are things that the students can relate to and they can identify with and understand. Not something that's abstract, that they're sitting there like you're saying. You're saying, okay, I don't really understand. What are they saying? Something that can, okay, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know I can do that. I can use that. So things like the examples like that. The other day, for the junior secondary too, they had a segment on poetry. And it was really good. They were talking about our own poets that we had here, and they were using language that the students will understand. They really brought it down to their level, things that they relate with in the real world. That's how learning should be. So yes, it's distance. Yes, I understand what you're saying about discipline. But you know what? Our children actually do want to learn. Even when they're listening to the radio and they are looking on Instagram, there's a part of them that says, you know what is new here? Because the brain always craves new information. That's the way the brain works. What is new here? What can I plug into here? What can I gain from here? So when we're putting this content together, there's that element of let's make sure that somehow we're going to be able to, like I said, reel them in with, guys, this is a new way of looking at this.
And like you said, novel one idea.
That's right, yes. So that's what we're
excellent. Now, okay, let's look at the role that parents have to play. I know you are a staunch proponent of the tripod, the education tripod. Can you tell us a bit about that first before we go into the role of parents?
I believe in the Holy Trinity when it comes to education. Teachers, parents, and students. They all must work together. You can't have one sector of this Trinity standing off and not being engaged and fully immersed. They must all come together, or else, like you said, that tripod does not stand well. It's somehow kind of, it kind of fall down. It won't really be as sturdy as it should be. So yes, I'm a really staunch believer of that. And in fact, the beauty, people like to concentrate solely on, oh my God, the negatives about COVID-19 and about how it's been such a well, lack of a better word, such a horrible situation.
Which it is, anyway.
It is, but I also like to look at, I like to look at opportunities, and I like to look at the blessings in when things happen. And I see this as a blessing. Unfortunately, and it's not just here, it's across the world, a lot of parents had removed themselves from the educational system. They didn't really understand what their children were doing in the schools. They did not really understand what the teachers were doing and what the teachers were going through. Well, guess what? We've pulled them back in. Because now, with their children at home, learning via distance learning, whether it's through apps on phones or laptops, or with our kind of method with the TV and the radio, they are involved, directly or indirectly, by their choice, of course, but they are involved because the child will say, oh, you know what, I have to go listen to this, or I need to use your phone, or I need to use that laptop because I need to do this homework, or oh, we need power, because our own situation here, we need power, so they need to turn on the generator, or we need to buy more data so that I can watch the video that my teacher is providing. So the parents are involved, and they ask questions, and for the younger ones, they have to also answer their questions and listen and say, okay, I think this is what they mean. A lot of times they have to interpret again for those younger ones. I think this is what your teacher was saying, and then they have to also go over it, because you see those younger ones, they also need you to be a facilitator. So they have to be involved now, and our tripod is now
it's coming back.
It's coming back.
We have COVID-19 to thank
for that. They're involved. They're involved. They're taking ownership back about their children's learning. The children are also taking ownership about their own learning. So to me, I see the plus. I want to focus on the plus. Yes, it's unprecedented. It's been disruptive, but let's also see the blessings. and what it's doing, and hopefully the benefits is going to accrue for us long term.
Long term, wow, that's excellent. All right, so of course everyone is aware the coronavirus pandemic is something that requires, huge measures of discipline in personal hygiene. So we're going to take a very quick message from a group of non-profit organizations called the Social Millennials Network on details about how parents, children, and homes can work to ensure prevention of the spread of the coronavirus. I'll join you in a moment. Please don't go away. Show. My name is Kemak Onyenuche, and of course I'm glad that you're back with us. I still have with me in the studio Honorable Adetola Salau, the Senior Special Assistant on STEM Education in Lagos State. Tola, you're welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Right, now before we went on the break, we were talking about how, the obvious occurrence of the COVID-19 and the necessity of children now learning from homes, the effect it has in pulling parents back into the education, and of course you are a proponent of the Holy Trinity of education. But across board, there is some measure of, would I say, frustration or complaint from parents about, being actively involved in the learning and education of their children. What do you have to say to parents at this time?
Okay. I understand that a huge part of going to school is socialization. And I shouldn't say we all understand that a huge part of it is socialization. So just this week, because I'm also a parent and I'm an educator myself, so I actually put myself in those two shoes. And just this week, I had actually sat down in between all the webinars and the work I'm doing, my own work. I thought about it, that it's a really challenging time for our children. So I wrote an article, let's see, what did I entitle it? Yes, Keeping Children Emotionally Resilient During this COVID-19 pandemic. And it's important that, yes, we're telling the children they're in lockdown, they're in quarantine, they're home, and of course they understand. But at the same time, remember that a lot of us are actually undergoing an overload of news. Al Jazeera, CNN, our own news outlets, social media about this. We should understand that it's also difficult and challenging for our children right now. Because remember, they are cut off from their peers, and those are their support system. And then they are learning in ways that they're not used to. They are used to being with the teachers, engaged in a physical structure. Now they're having to learn a lot of times through the phone or laptop or radio or TV, like we're asking them to. So we need to understand that I know I keep coming back to this. I like to look at blessings in the midst of adversity. This is a good opportunity for us to teach them resiliency. One of the key traits that will make such a huge difference in this 21st century is emotional resiliency, them being able to bounce no matter situations that are happening around them. So I want to encourage our parents that a lot of them are not trained to work with children and deal with children. Start equipping yourself right now. Go online, read articles, watch videos. YouTube is a great resource. And pay attention to your children's emotional needs. I wrote that in the article. Pay attention to them. You need to understand that children's emotional and psychological being is tied into being taken care of, having comfort, feeling secure. You as an adult, you as a parent, that's what you do. So I would say, when you're watching news, please sometimes shield them from it so that they don't have too much. And then when they're hearing about the, how would I call it, the oncoming global recession, also kind of shield them from it. And I know things are also challenging for a lot of us right now because of the oncoming global recession we're all talking about right now. Talk about it, but do not give them that doom and gloom outlook, because it can really affect them long term, and you don't want them to have that. Yes, they should have an idea of what's going on, but it shouldn't be too much. Don't rob them of their childhood, is what I'm trying to say. And then I also encourage us to ensure that we talk to them. Let them talk to us about their feelings. Don't shut them down. One thing that I find that some parents do is, oh, don't even complain. After all, some people out there are hungry, some people are actually dying. Don't do that. Let them be able to air how they feel. It's very important. Hear them out and address them. Okay, yeah, I understand why you feel that way. You want to talk more about it? Don't cut them off. I will also say we need to be very careful because they are home, and right now it seems like there's no boundary in time. In fact, sometimes there are jokes like, oh, today is Monday, or today is Friday. I don't even know it's
like
Friday.
No one can
don't
tell
do that.
what day.
Yes, don't do that. Emphasize structure. It's very important. All humans need structure, most particularly children. They need structure. One thing I did, I remember that first week when we began the lockdown, was I opened my planner. Yes, remember I said I still use my planner, and I made a schedule for myself. I said 8 a.m. do this, 9 a.m. do this, 10 a.m. do this. I know I would not be able to follow that all the time, but at least for the most part, I gave myself a defined boundary around how my day should flow, because you have to be flexible. Some things will change here and there. I would say do the same with your children too. Give them that structure. Don't say, oh, because you have online school and it starts at 9 o'clock, guess what, dude, you are going to just wake up at 8:30 or 9 a.m. No. Say, you know what, you're going to wake up at 7:30 or 8, you're going to prepare for school, you're going to do this. Still have them prepare as if they're going to a physical school, so that it still gives them that mental preparedness that, oh, I'm actually going to school. And then when they're in school, a lot of schools, they do video calls and video callings. So make sure they're dressed, because put it in them that, look, you're still
That's at the time.
Yes,
of
when
learning.
that's for those of them.
Home.
Yes, for those of them who are in online school and the schools are engaging them. Even if they're not even doing video calls, even if it's on WhatsApp, please have them dressed appropriately, so that it emphasizes in their mind that, wow, I'm learning and I'm in this frame of mind right now. Don't let them just be quote unquote chilling and doing their homework while they're in their PJs and they're answering video calls in their bed, or while they're, no, don't do that. Have that structure for them. It's going to help them, because we don't know how long this is going to be. You don't want a situation where they are now going back to school and they're all
there's
confused.
Too much laxity.
Yes, there's too much laxity and they're all confused. And then the last one I will say, it's one thing I find about children, and I've been working with children for over 20 years now as an educator, is touch is very important to them. Touch, very, very important. I'm so happy to discuss this because we're on the Well Child Show.
Right.
Touch is very important to our children. From time to time, hug them, touch them, reassure them everything is okay. Because remember, they are looking, I mean, seriously, they are looking at Al Jazeera, they're looking at CNN, they are seeing coffins.
Right.
They are seeing sick people, they're seeing nurses, they're seeing doctors. Tell them it's okay. They are okay. Sometimes, some of them might have even lost loved ones, or they've heard of people who are close to them or related to them distantly who are lost. Reassure them. They need you to reassure them right now. So you're going to reassure them with touch, you're going to reassure them with your words. That is your job as a parent or a guardian right now, to do that reassurance.
Wow.
Yes.
That's excellent. Like that's a masterclass on its own.
It is.
Honorable
It
Tola.
is.
Thank you so much for that. Now I want to ask a question. Now, of course, in other parts of the world, we know about the concept of homeschooling as a veritable option for education, but it's really not been traditional here in Nigeria. But with the onset of this virus and the need to socially distance, we find virtually all children are being homeschooled now.
Right now.
So what would you say, as someone who has her heels deep in education and policy formulation in the state, what would you say this portends for like the oncoming culture of homeschooling in Nigeria?
I see it as a positive. I don't see anything negative about a parent taking ownership of their child's learning. I'm not saying that it's something I'm doing or will do. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm not saying that I'm doing it and will do. However, I believe that as a parent, you should be able to say, these are the options I have and I'm going to choose this for my child, because you know what is best for your child. In fact, like I know I keep flogging that horse, but I'm going to keep saying it. To me, this is a blessing. As a parent, to be able to say, you know what, I'm seeing that my child is how my child learns. A lot of them are beginning to really discover during this period now how their children really learn now. Okay, I see that my child learns this way. I see that this works for my child like this. Wow, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. This is the time for you to discover your child's weaknesses and strengths. This is the time where you can now start argumenting, not just forcing the child and force feeding more and more academic content. Also start working on their soft skills. Start talking about what their dreams and their hopes for their futures are. and start getting involved in how they think. A lot of parents have not really listened to their children as long as they've had during this period. So look at this as a blessing, that you're going to really listen to your child now, or children, as the case may be. So I actually see this as a blessing. I also see the children understanding that the way the world, the future of work is going, is whether you like it or not, you have to take ownership of your learning, because learning is going to have to be lifelong. It's not like the way it was our generation and the generations before, where you went to university 4 years, or maybe you went for a master's and that was the end. After that, you didn't do any other skilling or any other courses. It's different now. You're constantly skilling up, you're constantly taking courses, you're constantly saying, you know what, I need to learn how to do this, I need to do that. You get on the job, they're like, oh wait, you know what, we also want you to do this, want you to do this. You go back again, oh wow, I need to be able to do this, do this, do this. If they don't have that mindset of saying, you know what, I am the one that wants to learn this, I am going to go and learn this, they're not going to be able to succeed. Right. They're going to gain those kind of skills now. If their parents equip them right now, they're going to gain it now. Yeah.
So parents, in essence, should look beyond the temporal discomfort of having to spend, hours. And really, I quite agree with you, Honorable Tola. I see no wrong in parents, like you said, taking ownership of the learnings of their children. Everyone, who has a stake in education wants to know, do you think we're going to go back to what education used to be, or what used to obtain in education? Or is this the new normal that going forward we should just get in the swing and prepare to live with?
Okay. When I was on the show the last time, I believe it was
a few months back.
I think it was February, a few months back. I had mentioned that I was in New York during 9/11, and that was a major part of how I became an educator. I can tell you that 20 years later, yes, 20 years later, we are still feeling the after effects of what happened from September 11 in the States and other parts of the world. So I'm just making that parallel, that we're still feeling the effects from that. It never went away. The same thing is going to happen here. So whether we like it or not, things have changed. It's never going to go back. I mean, some things will go back, but a lot of things will not go back. Wow. So we should address the fact that technology is a tool that's here to stay, and it has embedded itself in so many parts of our lives. And for so long, we try to keep it as, okay, let's just put it away from education. For some periods, right. From education. Whether we like it or not, it's here to stay in education. So we have to embrace it and deal with it. Right.
So what can we take away from the pandemic? Because, of course, we're all hoping that this becomes a thing of the past as soon as possible. What can we take away by way of education and the things that we should equip ourselves with and our educational systems with to ensure possible, ability to quickly mitigate future occurrences in 1 minute?
In 1 minute, prepare for the unprecedented. That's it.
Wow.
Prepare for things happening and not, I mean, when I was here that last time, I mentioned my story of how I woke up that morning and everything went topsy-turvy that morning. That's what happened with us in 2020. I mean, It's funny that I mentioned it that last time I was here. And look at what happened for the rest of this year, or well, for now, and who knows whether it's the rest of the year. So don't always think, oh, it's going to be like this and I'm going to do this. Life will always throw you for a loop.
So we have to be prepared.
Just be prepared. Wow. And doing so, we'll still come back to what we said, which is that lifelong learning, taking ownership. You know what, I'm going to go learn this, I'm going to go do this. And being resilient. It's very important, being able to bounce back no matter what.
Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable Tola, and I must say kudos on the great work that you're doing in collaboration with the private sector,
Lagos State,
with the Lagos State Ministry of Education. And of course, we'll have you back sometime soon. Right. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And of course, don't forget, please maintain social distancing, wash your hands regularly, use alcohol-based sanitizers, and of course your face masks if you have to go out of your building. You can keep communicating with us across our social media platforms on the screen right now. And of course, if you have questions, comments, you can send us emails or text messages on the numbers showing on the screen. And of course, I would not end this edition without calling on corporate sponsors or individual sponsors to partner with us on the Well Child Show. please call the number on the screen 0808 3305051. I will see you again on the next edition of the Well Child Show. Until then, always remember, child health and safety is everybody's business. Goodbye and God bless you.